Could you maybe not block the entire door this time? Some of us aren't paid by the pound, Iris. The words scraped against the marble walls of the mansion's service entrance, and the slap of the catering tray against Iris's well-padded hip was as sharp as the insult. She tried to pivot away, plates wobbling, but her fiancé, her ex, her tormentor, Ricardo, was already sweeping past, arm around a model so lean she looked sculpted from air. Laughter, brittle and biting, peeled from their direction. Iris exhaled, slow, careful, rebalancing her grip. She set her shoulders, feeling for one steady thing in the blur of tulle and velvet and stairs. Then, from the golden-lit archway, a figure approached. He cut through the crowd like a ship slicing fog, the kind of presence that made even the most arrogant hush mid-brag. Dark suit, wolf-quiet stride, a small black cross tattooed on his hand, timeless cologne, bergamot, and something faintly burned trailing in his wake. His gaze locked on her, unwavering, and time rearranged itself. Someone else shivered. Iris simply braced. The doors to the gallery proper opened with a shudder. She squared her shoulders and stepped forward, Rick in her wake, the boss's shadow gliding closer. She kept her eyes focused on the tray, 4 glasses, all poured perfectly to the men's lips, just as she'd done at every charity gala. Now the crowd held its breath as the Mafia boss himself, Don Emilio Caruso, allowed her closer. Servers envied her for the proximity. Iris just noted the glint of his watch, a vintage silver Omega, the kind you only see when punctuality writes destinies. She stopped before his circle. From behind, Ricardo's hand grazed her elbow, deliberate, familiar, a silent reminder of all the times he'd told her to move it or lose it. Tonight his touch was casual, a dig, the model at his side, Anna, stifled laughter with 2 slim fingers. Iris blinked hard, centering herself. "I apologize, sir. Would you prefer red or white?" Her voice, soft, controlled, held only the faintest waver. Emilio's gaze settled on her, slow as velvet over steel. "You tell me, Iris, what suits the mood." She started, caught off guard. How did he know her name? Iris lifted her chin. "The Amarone, it rounds out the edges of the summer roast," she managed, searching for dignity. The boss's lips lifted at the corner, not quite a smile. He watched as she adjusted the angle of the last glass with careful, practiced precision. "You handle chaos. Do you do that everywhere or just here?" The hum of the crowd muted around them. Ricardo stepped in, affectation thick. "She handles plates, trust me, not much else." A few onlookers snickered. Iris gripped the tray tighter. "You have your wine, please." A nod from Emilio, "And nobody touches her." His baritone barely carried, but it stilled Ricardo cold. Ricardo blinked. "Excuse me." Emilio's fingers brushed the tray, brushing briefly over Iris's own. "She has access, she stays, understood." His eyes pinned her, assessing, unfathomable. Iris barely breathed as the crime family head turned subtle protection into a command. Under the weight of his gaze, a single word echoed in the back of his mind. "Mind." The ballroom groaned with applause for Anna's solo, something about her modeling trip to Paris. Rick spun lies with the ease of a man immune to consequence, his cold hand slip-sliding to Iris's lower back. She jolted, heat of humiliation prickling, but did not shrink. Anna looped herself against Rick, purring. "Did he really propose to you, or was that just pity for the help?" Ricardo's voice cut deeper. "Let us be honest, Iris is just background, dead weight. She should be grateful I tried." The laughter that followed stuck like syrup. Someone at the bar offered, "Hey Iris, wanna model plus-size couture with us?" A glass of champagne tipped, deliberately, its fizz soaking into the velvet of her midnight blue dress, cooling her heartbeat. She stood, silent, trembling inside. She counted 1, 2, 3, focusing on the sharp click of Boss Caruso's footsteps from across the ballroom. He appeared beside her, sudden as a shadow overtaking sunlight. "Enough," he said, flat, merciless. Ricardo bristled, puffing up. "We're just having fun, Don Caruso, little harmless teasing." "You forget whose house you're in," Emilio replied, voice quieter than before, laced with warning. Anna let out a paper-thin giggle as Rick shrugged. "No harm, right, Iris?" His smirk left nothing unsaid. "You won't fight back." Iris took a steadying breath, then soft, barely loud enough for those closest. She replied, I think you've had enough fun, Rick. Please don't touch me again. Those nearest blinked, caught off guard by her composure. The boss's eyes never left her. Then from the corner, one of Emilio's capos hustled in, phone pressed to palm. Don Caruso, now, it's urgent. Subtle but panic hid behind protocol. On a feigned concern, Rick's feckless grin twitched. Emilio's gaze flicked to Iris. Andiamo, let's go. He turned, gesturing her to follow. She froze, nerves knife-hot. Me, why? His eyes met hers. You'll see, please. Quick glances followed her as Rick and Anna were left behind, their power withering in the vacuum of Caruso's claim. Iris let herself be shepherded through a maze of corridors, just one defiant parting glance at Rick. He sputtered, "You never, she's nothing." Emilio's step silenced him. Outside, under the portico shadows, the world contracted, just Iris and the kingpin moving toward an uncertain reckoning. Emilio led her through the mansion's west wing, past suites glowing gold and conference alcoves vibrating with family tension. He paused in a quiet alcove, offering a monogrammed handkerchief. "You're not nothing, Iris. Who was he to you?" She dabbed at the velvet on her hip, words missing at first. "My fiancé," she answered, voice small. "Past tense, I think." "How long has he been this way?" She hesitated. "Since the first time I told him no, 3 years before that, he didn't know I existed." He watched her for a long moment, reading, calculating, but not judging. "You handle yourself better than most men I know." She nearly laughed. "I just count things, steps, glasses, ways I could disappear." "Some disappear," Emilio replied. He pressed his hand, warm and calloused, brief as a whisper, to her shoulder. "Others hide in plain sight until the moment matters." His tattoo, fine black lines across, caught the light. For an instant, she wanted to ask why. Instead, she folded the handkerchief, meticulous, and handed it back. A knock, one of the inner circle, Sebastian, a fierce-eyed lieutenant. "Don, it's about Enzo." The consigliere's name dropped like poison. "He's been seen talking to Rick's father. They offered him a sum we can't match. We think he's flipping." Time pressure spiked, Emilio's jaw tense, ticking. "How long do I have?" he asked Sebastian in Italian. 10 minutes, they'll move at midnight, everything you built." Emilio cut him off with a look. He turned to Iris. "You stay with me, safe." She hesitated, then nodded, unsure what was more dangerous, the sharks circling Caruso or Caruso himself. He led her to his office, a grand room walled in old money and older secrets. He summoned an underboss, barking orders in clipped Italian. Iris's eyes lingered on a wall of framed art, Giacometti sketches, glowering Modigliani's. She lingered on the details, noting how everything was placed for line of sight, exits carefully kept clear. She watched Emilio type a code into a side panel, 3 digits repeated twice. "Why am I here, Don Caruso?" she asked, hands tightening around a serving tray she'd refused to put down. He paused, watching her reflection ghost his side. "Because you saw what most people don't, and because tonight the wrong move could kill us all." A tremor worked its way up her spine. "If I stay, your people, your rivals. I protect my own, even if you don't know it yet." A look, possessive, gentle, final. She felt his gravity envelop her, as inevitable as tides. Seconds later, the war room door opened, flooding the space with shouts. Emilio pulled Iris along. "Andiamo, let's finish this." The garage's fluorescent lights flickered as Emilio swept Iris into the vast, echoing space beneath the mansion. Shadows moved, 6 men, strangers, their figures tense against concrete. Iris's heartbeat thudded heavy, bruising, the taste of adrenaline metallic on her tongue. A rough order in Sicilian. "Boss Caruso, alone." Iris clutched the tray, iron in her grip now. Emilio signaled subtly for her to stay behind, but she caught the twitch in his jaw. The leader of the 6, face half-lit, voice cruel as sheet metal, motioned him forward. "We heard you wouldn't listen, Don, so now we make you." She knew these men by rumor. Enzo, the consigliere, sneered from the shadows, a ragged wound above his brow. At his side, Ricardo, panic-suppressing bravado, was whispering fiercely to Anna, who looked more mannequin than woman. Iris caught a fractured second. The lines of their shoes, the subtle pattern of how the six fanned out, their hands never far from inside jackets. It struck her all at once. The spacing, the angles, the way nobody stood back to wall or pillar. Ambush. She recognized it instantly, the kind of setup drilled into her bones years ago when self-defense was Army Ranger necessity, not memory. She swallowed, stepped forward, voice low. "Don Caruso, please don't move," she whispered, then met the gaze of the nearest capos standing guard. "They're setting up a triangle crossfire. They'll close in from 3 sides." One lieutenant blinked. "How would you?" Iris's posture changed, shoulders back, feet braced, tray held low and ready. "I know, please listen." She recited the positions, her tone laconic, unyielding. Emilio paused, his eyes narrowing, not with suspicion but admiration. "You see the field, you read it." Enzo barked a derisive laugh, but the wary tremor in his voice betrayed him. "She's just the fat girl Rick dumped. What would she know about our business?" Anna shrieked, "She's a joke, always has been, can't even fit in her own dress, I bet she's lying." But one of the armed men faltered, finally looking uneasy. "Boss, this isn't right, she's not just the help." Rick stammered, "Ignore her, please, it's just Iris, you don't have to." She cut him with a glance so cold he actually retreated, Anna half-shielded behind him. Emilio squared his stance, voice sure, cold as ice over fire. "Move now, Enzo, and you're dead in the next 2 seconds. She's already calculated your pattern. Haven't you, Iris?" She nodded, calm, overtaking panic. "They'll fire at the pillars. The ricochets will come this way." She turned to the nearest loyal lieutenant. "Can you cut the lights on my count?" The third party, the syndicate's grizzled head of security, swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." Iris whispered, "On 3, please." The second stretched, breath strangled in the cavernous silence. She counted down, not in fear, but with army crispness so sharp it split wires. 1, 2, 3. Darkness, chaos. The traitor's angle collapsed, predictable. Iris slid low, edge of the tray clipping one man's leg. Emilio swept in, using the confusion to plant 2 punishing blows, his signet ring flashing. Screams, then shots burying themselves in empty walls. The aftermath was sudden, bodies subdued, threats roaring into silence. As the lights snapped back, Anna sobbed on the ground, clutching Rick, who whimpered. Enzo, bleeding, spat curses, the entire coup revealed for what it was. The head of security looked to Iris, awed. "Where did you learn that?" She kept her gaze steady. "Army, years ago, I don't advertise, not many cared to ask." Emilio approached, scooping her gently into his arms before the assembled loyalists, thumb brushing her cheek. "You saved my life, Iris, you saved us all." He lifted her chin, voice resonant, final. "From now on, they answer to you too." The fallout was swift, brutal, and efficient, just as Iris suspected it would be. The police arrived for Anna and Rick, who were cuffed and led weeping into the autumn dawn. Anna's shrieks of "You'll regret this," cut short by the reality of wire fraud charges already pressing at her ankles. Enzo, the traitor consigliere, was hauled into a waiting black sedan, Mafia justice, silent and irreversible. In the heart of Caruso's mansion, at the long mahogany table, Emilio summoned every capo, every associate, every trusted name. Iris stood by his right, no longer an observer but presented as equal. The wall of hardened men split, uncertain at first, then slowly, one by one, heads bowed in respect. The city's most feared kingpin laced his fingers with hers, his signet ring catching the chandelier's fire, proclaiming, "Family is earned. Tonight she is one of us." They adjourned to the balcony. Dawn split open over Jersey City, a world made new by consequence and courage. Emilio leaned on the balustrade, cloaking her in his shadow, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist. "You saw it before any of us. That's not luck. That's destiny, Iris." She smiled, a curve both quiet and invulnerable. "If I stopped hiding, would you let me stay?" He swallowed, rare, vulnerable. "You're not hiding anymore, not from me." He took her hand, pressing his ring into her palm. "Andiamo, let's see what you become." She slipped the ring on her finger, its weight undeniable. Her eyes glittered steel and storm. "Let them come, I'm done apologizing." If you loved watching her transform from invisible to untouchable, hit that like button. Share this story with your fellow dark romance addicts. Subscribe to the channel for more thrilling Mafia romance stories. See you in the next story. The hush that followed was sacred. All around, the mansion's windows caught the early sunlight, fracturing it into patterns that gilded dust motes, reflected in Emilio's eyes, a glint equal parts promise and warning. Through it all, Iris felt her heartbeat settle into a new rhythm, one that matched the city waking just beyond the stone balustrade. He didn't release her hand. Instead, he traced the ridged crest etched into the signet it pressed into her skin, no longer a symbol of someone else's power but something quietly, irrevocably hers. His body was a shield at her side, the city's greatest predator, now her protector, or her ally, perhaps her equal. "Are you sure?" he asked, voice pitched barely above the hush. "Once you choose this, there's no halfway, no going back to being unnoticed." Iris exhaled, letting years of self-doubt dissipate into the morning air. "I was never invisible. You saw me before anyone else bothered to look." He nodded, solemn, the lines at the edges of his mouth creasing, just faintly, but so human she felt something twist in her chest. "We survive in the open, Iris. We thrive in the light. I should have remembered that sooner." She looked down at the courtyard where uniformed police steadied Rick and Anna toward a waiting car. Rick's head was bowed, shoulders sagged. Anna hurled bitter words over one shoulder, but to Iris, the sounds were as hollow as the echo of shoes in a marble corridor. She felt no triumph, only a certain ringing clarity that left her lighter than she'd felt in years. A movement in the shadows. One of Emilio's most veteran lieutenants, Paolo, stepped onto the balcony, pausing at a respectful distance. His gaze flickered to Iris, measuring, not unkind. "Don Caruso Misacampo," a nod. "The men await instruction, and Zoe's people have surrendered. Some ask what comes next." The question hovered, cautious, expectant. Iris felt Emilio's hand squeeze hers, so firm she could nearly feel his pulse. She met Paolo's gaze. "No reprisals. Those who surrendered stay if they want. I've seen too much loss tonight, nobody else dies." There was a murmur, Paolo's eyebrows rising not in challenge but in surprise, then, curiously, respect. "Yes, ma'am," he said, the title utterly sincere, and vanished back inside. She could feel Emilio studying her, searching for any trace of wavering. "You choose mercy," he said softly. "That's not weakness, it's how you break their old ways." Iris shrugged, a rueful smile ghosting across her lips. "If I'm to stay, I want to be feared for my mind, not my shadow." A flicker of pride, deep and secretive, crossed Emilio's face. "That's the only way we win, you know that already." Below, the first birds began to thread song through the cooling air. Inside, the mansion thrummed with anticipation, word already spreading of her decisive, unexpected command. In another life, Iris would have hidden beneath it, allowed Emilio to play the public face. But now, she leaned into the sunlight, letting it sear old regrets from her skin. He gestured toward the mansion's west wing, voice low. "Would you walk with me?" Not an order, an invitation, rare as anything in his world. She followed, their steps aligned through the gleaming hallways. This time, heads bowed in real deference. She caught whispers, "La nuova regina," the new queen. Some faces stiffened with suspicion, but most brimmed with something gentler, hope. She realized then how tired even the most hardened of them had become, waiting for blood to answer blood. Maybe they wanted the wait to ease, too. They reached the private study, doors closing behind them with a decisive thunk. Emilio pulled a velvet box from the drawer. He opened it, not with grand ceremony, but quiet humility. Inside rested a thin gold chain threaded through a miniature key. It was beautiful in its simplicity. He placed it in her palm. "It's not flashy," he explained. "It was my mother's. She ran this house without ever raising her voice. She believed the person who held the key also held our loyalty. My men remember her as the last person they truly followed. Before I became Dawn, I was only her boy." Iris touched the key, warmth blooming beneath her fingers. "And you'd trust me with this, even now?" His smile was sad, touched with memory. Especially now, you earned it more honestly than anyone here. You protected us, saved my life, by instincts I thought were lost to this city. She hesitated. When she spoke, her voice was fierce, trembling on the edge of something new. My whole life I learned to take up less space, to apologize for what I was: strong, big, inconvenient. But this place, your trust, makes me want to be seen, not for the wounds I carry, but for what I can build. He reached for her then, gentle but unwavering. I see you, Iris. His forehead touched hers, a collision of futures, not just comfort. Something long withered inside her dared to hope. They stayed that way for a moment, just two people who had survived sharp edges and shadowed rooms. The taste of morning, the thrum of possibility, filled the silence between their skin. A knock, Paolo again, this time less guarded. Don Caruso, ma'am, the media waits outside. They say Rick's father is already spinning stories. Emilio's face hardened. He'll claim victimhood, will give them the truth. Iris squeezed his hand once more. Let me speak. I know what everyone expects, the mystery woman in the Don's shadow, but I want them to hear my voice. He searched her, then nodded, yielding space for her to lead. Let's give them something to remember. They walked side by side through the main entrance, gold-edged doors thrown open. The step onto the porch was a release, the city's eyes rising to meet hers. Flashes erupted, the press surging forward, all sharp elbows and predatory hunger. But this was not the kind crowd that had once sneered at Iris Ocampo, not the ravenous mob at a fashion show or wedding fair. Here, power dictated decorum. Emilio's lieutenants flanked them but did not obstruct her. She stepped closer to the row of microphones, clearing her throat once, low, steady. I am Iris Ocampo, she began, her voice ringing clear as glass. There was an attempt tonight to tear apart this family, by greed, by betrayal, by people who thought they could use others as shields. Those responsible will answer for their crimes, legally if possible and with justice if not. Cameras flashed, the crowd shifting, rapt. I stand here by Don Caruso's side because I choose to, because I believe families, no matter how they're built, are worth defending. I will not apologize for surviving or for leading. Every word dug deep into the earth, laying foundations where before there were only ruins and echoes. Rick's father, his face red, fury barely leashed, shouted a challenge. What makes you her, fit to rule what's not hers by blood? Iris's gaze barely wavered. What's earned is worth more than what's inherited. Your son thought cruelty could be currency, but tonight decency won. Fear changes nothing. We will lead by reason, not revenge. A ripple passed through the crowd, a strange, powerful silence. Reporters murmured, eyes bright. She stepped back, heart pounding but solidly in her chest. Emilio spoke next, confirming facts to the press, but it was Iris's words that lingered. She saw it in the way the reporters looked at her, not as a curiosity but a reckoning. Hours later, the crowd surged away, headlines already spun. Iris caught her breath in the foyer, the key heavy around her neck. Emilio watched from the threshold, arms crossed, chin tilted in rare approval. You handled them, he murmured. She tipped her head, smile sly. I learned from the best. Inside, the house settled into new order, Enzo gone, the loyalists gathering for duty, the kitchen staff emerging with cautious, hopeful glances. Iris passed old friends and skeptics alike, but her step never faltered. Chef Lucia caught her arm as she passed. The kitchen's yours, Capofamiglia, she said, voice thick, eyes glistening, not mocking but reverent. If you need anything. Iris squeezed her hand. We do this together, no one left behind. Upstairs, she found her old room, a suite meant for service, broom, closet small. Its door stood open, every trace of her former life neat to the point of erasure. She recognized her own handwriting on the last sticky note on the mirror, be small, stay safe. She pulled it free, tearing it in half. A tap at the door. Emilio's silhouette filled the space, but bulky with an armful of fabric, the velvet blue dress ruined by spilled champagne. He tipped it onto the bed, expression sheepish. Lucia says her niece can mend it. If you want a new start, maybe, so should your dress. Iris sank onto the mattress, laughter bubbling from her for the first time in ages. Maybe I'll have it fitted bigger, she teased, in case I grow into this new life. He settled beside her, wary, then warmer, emboldened by her joy. I hope you do, I want you to. They sat together, side by side, in the newness of uncertainty and promise. Below, the mansion's halls echoed with the slow, careful steps of a future neither of them could have predicted, a family built not on fear, but on choice. Night fell gently, moths batting at the window glass. Emilio drew her close, breathing her in. They didn't talk about danger. They didn't discuss the rules or what tomorrow's council might bring. Instead, he wrapped an arm around her waist, anchoring her. You're not background anymore, Iris, not to anyone. She rested her head on his shoulder, warmth grounding her where once insecurity had stung. I know, she murmured, and for the first time I don't want to disappear. His lips found her hair, a benediction, a bond. Good, because I need you seen with me, always. Silence deepened around them, sweet and profound. Outside, dawn threatened once again, painting promise across the horizon. Iris closed her eyes, breathing in her new place in the world, solid, dangerous, beloved. By her choice and by no one else's, she finally belonged. In the hush before sunrise, the city's pulse threaded its way upstairs, stealthy and insistent, but it could not break the cocoon wrapping Iris and Emilio. For a long time they just listened, distant laughter from the staff rediscovering hope, the low drawl of Paolo organizing defenses, gulls mewling over the Hudson. The world sounded different now, as though all its edges were softened, rooms widened just for her. Emilio's hand found hers again, fingers lacing, their warmth familiar but thrilling in its certainty. Tomorrow will come fast, he warned quietly. Old enemies, new allies, your mercy earns respect, but it paints a target too. She smiled, unafraid. Let them come, I know how to stand my ground now. He stroked her knuckles. You know, when I saw you first at that charity event, then every night in my house, invisible but holding everything together, I thought here is the strongest person in the room and nobody even notices. His mouth ghosted her temple, lips trembling as if he almost dared not. Now they see you, and so do I. Iris tipped her face to his. You said we survive in the open. I want that. I want this. Her eyes shone with laughter and new challenge. Only this time I lead with you, no more hiding, no more shrinking. He grinned, feral and proud. Then we lead together. Downstairs, shouts announced champagne uncorked for the loyal, soft-footed toasts in the kitchen. Someone whistled her name, Iris, not with scorn but with triumphant welcome. The resonance of it trembled through her chest, a drumbeat for beginnings. I never thought I could be someone's future, Iris confessed, voice thick with the marvel of it. Half my life I thought survival meant shrinking smaller, but you made space for me, and tonight I made space for myself. He pulled her close, their foreheads brushing, promise and vulnerability locked between them. Whatever comes, you're not alone. My hand, my name, my kingdom, yours if you want it. She let hope root itself, fierce and tender. I choose it, I choose you. As dawn seeped across the sky, melting shadows from marble and bone, Iris stood, heir to rooms that once suffocated and halls that now beat with her footsteps. Her voice and her will would linger through these chambers long after the news vans pulled away. In the city built on secrets, she was no longer background. She was the story now, and every eye, friend or rival would learn to follow where she led. Hand in hand, Iris and Emilio stepped into the new day unafraid.